In this lesson, we will implement task deletion in our application, which means we will add the implementation for this button that is visible here. So if I click delete now, nothing happens because we haven't handled this click event yet, and we aren't invoking any logic here. So please go to the tasks view, Blazor, which is the component where we display all tasks, and in our table, in the last column, we have the delete button. We have already set the type as button and added some bootstrap classes, and we also want to bind it to the onClick event and call the delete task method. So we will add such a method in C# code in this component. So private void delete task. And here we will want to delete the task from the database. However, here we need to pass one more parameter to this method, namely the task identifier that we will later delete. So here it should be an int ID, and we need to pass this identifier to the method. How to do it? Very simply. Notice that at this moment we have an error here because we are not passing any parameter. To pass a parameter here, we need to use lambda expression syntax. So we open and close parentheses, arrow, and here we pass item ID as a parameter to this method, and now we have no error. This identifier, depending on the task that is clicked in our iteration, will be passed here to the C# code. And now we need a new method in a task, HTTP repository, namely delete, to which we will pass the identifier. Let's move on to the implementation in task, HTTP repository. Let's implement this interface here, also marking this method as async, await, client, delete, async. And here we need to call the appropriate endpoint, which is tasks, and we need to pass the identifier. So we do this using string interpolation and pass the identifier from the parameter. So here, the action from our tasks controller will be called, marked as HTTP delete, where, as you can see, we need to additionally pass the task identifier as a parameter, which we want to delete from our application. Great, let's move on to tasks, Blazor.cs, and in the delete method, we call this method, marking it as asynchronous and returning a task. And now we call the delete method from our repo, task repo, and the task identifier we want to delete. Then we will also display a message here, so we need our toaster service. To make it faster, I will copy it from another component and paste it into tasks, Blazor.cs, like this, and I will also copy the call to make it faster and call this method in delete task and just adjust the message. The task has been deleted. Great. So first, we delete the task from the database. We display a message, and at the end, we need to refresh the data here, which means calling the task repo getAll method. However, we notice that we display it in two places. So we can add a method to make it more readable, refresh task, and call this logic inside the refresh task method. Then, in two places, we will only call our private method, and thanks to this, the code is of better quality. Our method is well described, and we don't have code repetitions. Great. Now, if I run the application, add a new task, a task to delete, like this, then go to this task, which is here, click the delete button, and notice that it disappears from the table and a message is displayed at the top right. If I refresh this table again, you will notice that the task is no longer here. However, there is one more thing I don't like, which is that we click this delete button, meaning we delete a task, which is quite important, without any confirmation. That means we click delete, we might click it by accident, and we lose information about a task. It is also good practice in such a case to add a confirmation here, meaning we click on the delete button and a modal window should appear asking for confirmation of this action to prevent any accidental clicks and to confirm the action so the user is aware that they are deleting a task from their application. To implement something like this, we will need a modal window in our application. We have already implemented a modal window in previous modules. So to not prolong this lesson, I will quickly copy the modal window, pause the video now, and we will be able to use it shortly. So please do the same, copy the modal window from the previous lesson, or if you don't have it, copy it from the last lesson of this module. Okay, I have already copied the modal window, placed it in the components, common folder, and here we have the modal window. This is how the view looks. This is how the code in C# looks. There is nothing new here. We have already implemented this from scratch before, and I also have some CSS styles here. Great. So let's call this modal window in the task component Blazor. So somewhere up here, we'll call this modal window modal. I'll also add a using statement in the imports component, so I don't have to refer to this modal window by its full namespace. Now, I'll pass the title, please confirm, and the body, where we want to display the message, are you sure you want to delete the task? We'll also want to include the title here. Therefore, we'll fetch this body from a field we'll create in a moment called delete dialog body. Then we'll assign the value of the show delete dialog variable to show. For the onAccept event, we'll assign the call to the delete confirmed method, meaning the deletion has been confirmed. However, for the cancel action, we will assign the delete method cancelled in this way. Now we need to add these fields and methods in our C# code. So let's start with show delete dialog. Let's add a private bool show delete dialog at the top. And now in the delete task method, we will first want to display our modal window. So show delete dialog equals true. We will want to move this code to another method shortly, but we will come back to that in a moment. Next, we have the delete dialog body field here. So let's also add such a field, delete dialog body, and it will be a string. Okay, and we will also set the value of this field in the delete task method. So delete dialog body, are you sure you want to delete the task? And here we will write the name of this task, and we will want to receive this name in the delete task method. So I add the title as a parameter here, and it will be displayed in this message. However, we still need to go back to binding the onClick event with the delete task method. And besides the identifier, we also need to pass the item title here. So we are in the task raiser in the for each loop, and where we have the delete button, we add a new parameter to bind with the delete task method. Okay, and here a message will first be set in the body asking if you are sure you want to delete the task and the task title, and then this dialog window will be shown. Great, and we still have these two methods left, namely delete confirmed. We can add this method here as private async task delete confirmed, and we can check what parameters we have here, including mouse event args. Great, and the same goes for the delete cancelled method. So, to start, if we click the delete button, the delete task method will be called. We set the content to be displayed in the modal window, display the modal window, and only if the user confirms that they really want to delete the task, the logic for actually deleting the data will be executed. This means the task will be deleted, a message will be displayed, and the data will be refreshed. At this point, we can also close the modal window by setting show delete dialog to false. However, notice that we have a problem here because we don't have access to the task ID that we want to delete. Therefore, we need to add an additional private int field where we will store the ID of the task we want to delete. So delete task id. This way, we will set the value of this field in the delete task method, meaning delete task equals the identifier. Okay, and then we will also have access to this field in the delete confirm method. So each time, this method will be called first, and the identifier will be set here, and we will have access to it in this place. Note that now in the delete task method, we don't have any asynchronous method calls, so we can change the signature to indicate that it is a void method. Great, and now we also have the delete method, cancelled, and here we will just set show delete dialog to false, and we can also mark this method as void. And that should be everything. Now we run the application and verify that everything works correctly. Okay, let's add a new task again, save it, and here is the task I just created. And if I click delete now, a modal window appears asking if you really want to delete the task, and here we have the title of our task. If I click cancel, notice that the task is still visible here. However, if I click and confirm the deletion, the task has indeed been deleted, and we have a message. This task has disappeared from our table, which means everything is working perfectly, and we have secured this button against any accidental clicks. We always need to additionally confirm data deletion. Great, so that's it regarding data deletion. Now I invite you to the next lesson where I will show you how to handle files in Blazor.